Hey guys, welcome back to our channel. Today we are going to talk about a slightly different topic. First of all, let me start by introducing myself. I am Ronaldo Walters.
And I am Jasmine Walters.
My beautiful wife. So like I said, today our topic is going to be slightly different. Typically what we did was we talked about our love life, marriage, baby, new parenthood. But today we want to kind of turn the hands of time back to before the fairy tales and fantasies and all that stuff came through. So we think it's something that almost everyone experiences.
Or is experiencing right now. But it might be kind of hard to see because you're in the moment.
Correct. So here's the topic. How do you determine someone is the one when they are placed in your life at a particular time and it seems like the perfect timing and it seems as though that person is heaven sent, but then a few months pass and you realize that that really wasn't the case, but life goes on? How do you deal with that? How do you, react to those situations? Both myself and my wife have been through a situation where we thought that was a person based off of, the time of the time of
that they entered into
the time that they entered into your life,
like the circumstances you were going through at the time.
So you want me to lead off, or you want to go first? So let me take it way back. So I've had 3. When I say hardcore girlfriends, I mean like girlfriend, right? Before I met my wife. So the first one was way back. I thought I was gonna marry this girl out of high school. And then I came over to the States. It didn't work out. She was back home in Barbados, and that was the end of that. But that was puppy love, right? So I thought that was the end of that. I moved on. And then I moved on to another girl, and this girl, I knew for I really loved this girl. And I was like, man, this thing is going to, flourish. This is the one. And then just hit the fan. Like it just hit the fan, right?
Well, maybe you should go into detail about what it was about those people that made you feel that way. Okay, so I'm gonna get deeper. I'm gonna share some of my thoughts once I get past my introduction to these people, right? So girlfriend number 2 that I thought was gonna be the one, she ended up, her childhood was difficult, and it showed in our relationship after we were together for maybe like a year and a half to 2 years. So after that experience with her, I kind of, stayed away from having a girlfriend. I still had female friends, but I didn't have a titled girlfriend. And I stayed away from that for a while, just to give myself a little break, relax, kind of find myself. I was kind of developing into a young man, and everybody goes through that phase where you're searching for independence and identity. Okay, cool. So comes along girlfriend number 3, and at this point in time, I've transitioned into a mindset where my next girlfriend, I want her to be the one, right? I want to marry her. Cool. I have this mindset. I talked to this girl for like an extremely long, stretched out period of time, just to make sure that this was it. And me and girlfriend number 3 were friends for a really long time. She came into my life at she entered my life at a time where I felt not desperate, but you needed a support system,
right?
at that time.
Or
either support system or things in my mind were coming together, and her coming into my life at this point seemed as though it was the final piece to the puzzle, right? It seemed that way, but lo and behold, the puzzle was not complete. It was just another piece to my completed puzzle.
Like a complete puzzle.
I thought that. I thought it was, right? So in my mentality, you know, before that relationship came to an end, my mindset was I was going to marry this girl. I prepared myself. Everything else in my life was aligning.
Gotcha.
And
I'm following.
Right. And I thought
even though I've heard this story a million times.
Anyways,
I just try to make sense of it every single time.
I thought that was my last piece to the puzzle, but apparently there were some hidden pieces that I missed. Cool. So I go through that relationship. It wasn't a bad relationship. It just wasn't a relationship for me. So that wasn't the relationship for me. So this time now, this relationship is ending, and then girlfriend number 1 from high school in Barbados,
he got that old thing back.
Came back into the picture. This has to be the sign now. You know what I'm saying? This has to be the sign that this is it, right? I was getting ready to graduate with my master's. I was on the job hunt. So my life legitimately was coming together full circle. Cool. Go back with girlfriend number 1 from high school, and it was flowers and fireworks in the beginning. It was great. However, I was in the United States. She lived in overseas, outside of the United States. And
we won't get specific.
And the long distance thing just it played a toll on me. And then this is where
extreme long distance though.
Yeah, like, extreme long distance, like
serious time zone difference.
Serious time zone difference, which became difficult. I think also increased the lack of interests that we had. All those played a huge part in it, and then the plan was for her to move here and us continue our life. And when people say, that's where I experienced that there is a thin line between love and hate, right? Because we made plans. We thought that was the, I thought that was the one. Yeah, I did, but it wasn't. I'll get to that shortly. And what happened here is pretty much false promises, right? She promised to move over here. We continue our life, blah, blah, blah. So here I am thinking that this is that time. This is my time. This is my time to shine. This is my situation. Boom, 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 boom. This is, I got everything, in my head, made up, whatever. Long story short, it did not work out. Obviously. And funny enough, I met Jasmine a week after me and girlfriend number 1, who came back around. What was that phrase you said?
She wanted that old thing back?
Yeah. Well, she wanted that.
wanted that old thing back. I guess it was mutual. They both.
So what we're talking about here is, how do we determine those mishaps? How do we see those mishaps coming? How do we prevent those mishaps from coming? Before we get to that, though, we share our opinion. I want Jazzy to share her experience with you.
So, really, I didn't seriously date too many people. Actually, really only one person I would say I seriously dated, and then like a couple others I was just, in my mind, I was exclusively dealing with, but it wasn't the case. So yeah, so I had like one serious boyfriend, and that there were several red flags in that relationship, but I felt like when this person came into my life that it was kind of like, it was a sign that
almost perfect timing.
Yeah, it was perfect timing. I was kind of dealing with the situation with a friend that I had been dealing with who had lied to me, who had no reason to lie to me. So I was like really hurt by that. Then, you know, my next boyfriend came into my life, and I felt like I was played, like became connected for me to kind of help this person grow and develop and become a better person. And so I kind of dealt with a lot of that, a lot of his stuff, his shortcomings, when I shouldn't have, because I felt like that was kind of, I don't know, kind of my purpose.
In his life.
Yeah,
okay.
You know, kind of just introducing him to God, and, you know, being spiritual and praying, and, you know, not being negative, and just trying to be a better person on this earth. That's what I felt like, and that's why I stayed for such a long time. And then eventually a light bulb clicked, and I was like, I don't deserve this, and that relationship ended how it ended. Not the best way, but it did. And then so when that one ended, another person just came into my life, and my friend Hillary calls it like the hero effect. It's kind of like this person comes in and they sweep you off your feet, and they kind of rescue you from a bad situation you were in, and it feels all just magical. Feels so magical and so perfect. Like this, you know, this has to be it. But I think we kind of get blindsided, both men and women, with that feeling, because you were just dealing with something that was kind of so negative and so not good for you, that anything kind of like anything that's remotely a little bit better, what am I looking for? Anything that's remotely better.
You're looking for anything better than what you just came from.
What you just came from. And it could literally be the slightest thing. And you kind of are drawn to that. And then with that next kind of, I won't call it a relationship, but the situation that I was in, it was a very friendly thing. It was the foundation in which it was built was a very strong friendship type situation. It was very uncomplicated from the beginning. Of course, eventually it got more complicated as feelings grew, you know, whatever. But towards the end, I felt like this next person was kind of meant for me. Like how we matriculated through our relationship, it formed such a great bond that it would be perfect in the next level of marriage and commitment or whatever. But that was my one-sided view, and unfortunately that person didn't feel that way about it. And you know, you just kind of have to, like, it took me stepping away and being like, hey, I need to focus on me and do me, because you aren't on the same page as me, to realize that. And I know a lot of us, especially girls, like once we get to a certain age and if marriage is a goal of ours, sometimes people are a little bit more persistent in that goal, and they will stay in something hoping that will happen, and kind of waste their time waiting for a person to kind of change, grow up, and want the same thing as you, when you might need to just kind of take that as a sign. Like if you are finding yourself having to kind of force the subject, or they're not bringing up the idea of marriage or of, you know, future life with you, then they're probably not for you. So we as women kind of have to do our part to love ourselves enough to step back from situations and realize that.
that magical feeling is the tricky part, where there is no solution to that, because we are human beings made of emotion, and there really is no answer to that. But
because a lot of people were asking us, like, how do you avoid it?
Yeah, a few people asked on our Instagram, how do you avoid making those mistakes repeatedly over and over? And here's our point of view. Well, one, you need to find yourself. Like, you need to really spend some time alone as an individual and develop as an individual, develop your identity. That's one point. The second point is, in my experiences and in Jasmine's experiences, seems to be a little bit, have some commonality. So the girlfriends that I had those experiences with, 2 out of 3 of them were raised in a single family household. Her experience with that guy that presented that magical feeling to her, he grew up in a single parent household. Going with this is, I'm not saying that, let me also add, I grew up in a dual parent household as well as Jasmine. Where I'm going with this is, we have a lot more in common. We have a lot more we have less insecurities about the opposite sex, and
because we've seen it work between 2 people.
Because we've seen it work.
I think what he's trying to get to is that in those situations where we were with somebody who didn't come from both parents
Correct.
being in the home, all they saw was one parent. So for me, from a male perspective, a guy is more likely to be like, oh, well, I don't see the point in being married because my mom did just fine without it, or she does just fine because she just has her long-term boyfriend. Like, that's what it can be. Or, I don't see the point. Or even if you come from a 2-parent home and it's just a very tumultuous relationship and people just kind of stay together for the children or
yeah.
Whatever the case may be, it's cheaper to keep or whatever the case may be. Some people don't want to get married because they don't, they've seen 2 people be together and they're still not around. Seeing that plays a big part in how you view relationships for the future. And so with us, after we met, we started kind of having these conversations. We found that we had the similarities with our past, that we dated or talked to people who didn't come from
Correct.
Similar backgrounds as us, and it does make a difference when you do have you're talking to someone who does come from a similar parent structure,
a similar childhood experience as you, yes,
or a similar love
dynamic, however you want to call it,
because then they are able to be on the same page with you
and understand you better as an individual, understand what you've been through, and they kind of see relationships the way you see it,
right?
It kind of matches up a little bit better, yeah.
Right, they have the same goal, the end goal, because they grew up in a 2-parent household. The marriage was, from what they knew, what they saw, was healthy, and it's been going on for a long time, and they want the same thing.
Yes.
So that was something important to me, because that was a trend that I had noticed from people that I've talked to. If they don't come, my parents have been married, I think, 33 years now. So that's definitely like # goals for me, and that's all that I knew.
And this topic is very obviously controversial. So we would like to hear back from you. Please leave your comments and share with us. Tell us what your thoughts and our opinions. We're not saying that as a person who grew up in a single parent household, you're not able to be compatible with someone who grew up in a 2-parent household. That's not what we're saying.
Right, because from growing up in a single parent household, you could want the exact opposite.
Correct.
And really long for a relationship and be with somebody for 100 years, you know what I mean?
Right.
But that was just our personal experience.
Yeah. Our personal experience was we both grew up that way. We saw that. That's what we were kind of programmed. That's the way we were programmed. That's how we saw love. And now we're kind of, you know, we're defining our own love from what we grew up seeing. So
the main questions that he was receiving was, how do you avoid it? How do you avoid like getting lost into these relationships that kind of lead you to nowhere, to a dead end, or if you feeling like, you know, I'm in this relationship and I'm doing all this and I feel so strongly this way, and why doesn't this person equally feel the same way? And there's really, I won't say there's no way to avoid it. Like he said, you really have to know yourself. And sometimes to know yourself, you have to go through these things.
Yes.
And you might get your heart broken a few times before, you know, you get to that golden egg.
And heartbreak is not bad.
It's not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah.
You know, you go through this life and you know, lessons learned. Now, if you keep dating the same exact person with a different name all the time, then, you know, you really just need to, you know, take some time and be yourself. And this is not to say like, oh, I'm just going to stay away and not date anybody, because then you'll never learn it. Kind of go through it. That's what life is. That's what we did. And then, I think like we've said previously, he was at a point in his life, like he ended a fairly lengthy relationship that he thought was serious, and he was, you know, more focused on just kind of doing him for the moment, and that's what he wanted. Neither one of us that night that we had met were looking for anything or anyone, you know, like I was kind of talking to somebody else when, you know, not super seriously talking to anybody else, but my mind was at that time was, you know, I need to focus on getting myself together for my career, and I'm back home. I'm just here to kind of have fun, and it is what it is. Yeah. And then, you know, things kind of developed from there. Here we are going on, 3 years? Almost 3 years and a baby later. And it worked out. So you kind of have to be vigilant. You know what you want, what you deserve, what you like, what you don't like, and you kind of have to weed out that.
Yeah, and also another thing too is identify what phase of your life you're going through, or what phase of their life that they're going through, that other person that you might be interested in. So you got your player phase, you got your pre-marriage phase where you settle down, you get to learn yourself. Everybody knows what the player phase is, so I don't need to explain that, right, babe?
Right. Why are you looking at me?
All right. So everybody knows what the player phase is. That speaks for itself. The pre-marriage phase is where you get serious and you seek spirituality and stuff like that. You go to church to help find yourself, to help settle yourself. You start doing things a lot more like mature. You start doing a lot more mature things, like, and you get more serious. And there's a lot of different things, but that's the pre-marriage phase. And then you find that person, and it kind of all comes together. But just make sure that both parties are in and around the same phase of their life. If he or she is still in the player phase,
that's fine.
That's fine. Like, yeah, that is okay.
And if that's not what you're looking for, you cannot
accept that.
Yeah, you have to accept that with whatever phase it is in your life. Then walk away. Do your own thing until somebody who comes around.
That might be a way you could avoid that heartbreak. You know what I'm saying?
Till somebody who wants the same thing as you comes around. I mean, it wasn't that he didn't want, in that moment that he didn't want to be married. Of course, eventually he did, but at the moment, that's not what he was looking for. But, as we started to hang out and, you know, talk to each other, and we were like, oh, this is kind of a good vibe, and I actually kind of like this person, and they have, you know, he wants to be married too, he wants to have kids too. He actually even asked me, because we were hanging out and, you know, whatever, and he, I was just like, you know, talking, I was like, I don't want another situationship, da, 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 da. And he was like, well, what is this? He like challenged me with the question, well, what is this? And I was like, oh, well, you're right, I guess it kind of is that, and that's not what I want. And then from that moment, that's when the dynamic of our relationship changed, and I was like, well, I guess we need to
see, fellas, you gonna flip it on them, right? You gotta hit them with the okie doke.
I guess we gotta kind of be serious, because neither one of us, that's not what either one of us
But
want.
long story short, there is no answer to how to avoid those magical moments that turn out into disastrous moments. There really is no way. You can try to prevent it, but the main points are, you know, make sure that both of you guys are going through the same phase of life. See what type of background, you know, how they grew up, you know, kind of explore all those things to see if that person is on the same wavelength as you. And then, you know, figure out what you like, figure out what you don't like, figure out what you can deal with about that person, and figure out what you can't, you know what I'm saying? And if you feel like there's some things that you can live with and live without, or whatever the case may be, you know, then go from there. But you will
settle, though.
Yeah, don't settle. You know, people will lie. You know, I talked about the whole being in the marriage phase. Fellas will lie just to get in. You know,
They'll say they want to be married.
They will say they want to be married. They'll say they love.
I don't know a man that would say, oh, I do want to be married, and then for one night. No.
Well, they'll say I love you and stuff like that. They'll drop their little clues. I don't know what guys say. You know, I don't know. My lines are. You see what my lines got me, right? Thanks for watching. Share your comments. Like, subscribe. Let us know your thoughts.
What else would you like to hear?
What else would you like to hear from us?
I think the next one's going to be about the baby.
Yeah, the next video, we're going to mix it
stuff.
up. Yeah, we're going to mix it up. We're going to mix it up. Anyways, guys, thanks. And we're going to see you guys next video. Bye.